Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone, hey, I hope you're having a fantastic day and you're ready for some Computer America. So today on the program, we have an entire hour dedicated to computer and technology news, and that is simply because, hey, you know, I've missed it. We've had a lot of great guests in the past couple of weeks, and unfortunately, we haven't had any time to catch up on the news. So, hey, that's what today is going to be, and it's going to be a lot of fun because there are a lot of very interesting stories, and all of them, of course, very, very recent and relevant. So, hey, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, with that being said, everyone, welcome into the Computer America Show. And so, first things first, computeramerica.com. That is our website. That's where you'll find everything, including the show notes, the archives, the video, the audio, the podcast, everything and anything having to do with today's show will be in one spot. And on top of that, while you are checking that out, be sure to check our articles that we do, articles and reviews and things like that. Have some coming up here shortly. And then besides that, we have the live video feed with the chat room if you feel like chatting with us. And all of that put together is just, hey, the Computer America Show. So once again, if you're listening to us on the radio on IRN, if you're listening to us, after the fact, hey, doesn't matter. Thank you so much for joining us. And why don't we go ahead and get started? So as I said before, computer and technology news, and that, of course, is brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. Now, for our first story, and we have a lot of them, and actually one of them, I really like this one because it shows, and we're doing this one, and then we are going to do another one, which I think I saved somewhere around here, which is also about cars, and then maybe we'll transition that into self-driving buses and things like that. But often, whenever technology comes to us here on the show, we talk about yes, and here's the other one. So yeah, whenever we talk about technology here on the show, we often talk about the idea that, you know, hey, it's all self-driving. It's that's really the only way that technology is influencing cars. And, you know, of course, there's things like batteries and, you know, hybrid electric vehicles and that sort of technology and, you know, basic consumer safety features. But mostly on a tech show, it's about self-driving vehicles. This one is not that. This is, and for anyone out there watching the video portion, you can, of course, follow along, see the picture, see the video, and you are probably going to want to see the pictures on this one because it is an amazing looking car. And if you've probably heard of the manufacturer. This is none other than Aston Martin. The one, the only, the James Bond car. And they have a new one out where they dropped a hat trick of announcements today, confirming work on 3 new vehicles. They have the Vanquish Vision Concept, which is the codename AM9, the AMRB003 Hypercar, and the Lagonda All-Terrain Concept. So it sounds like they want to get in the, kind of like the Jeep territory. But I digress. They said that the Vanquish Vision concepts, which revives the Vanquish name, has been in production for 2 years. Its arrival marks the first time Aston has put a mid-engine model into series production, and they said that that's going to start in 2020. The twin turbocharged engine capacity is as yet unspecified, but likely to be around 3 liters. Not half bad, not a bad amount of displacement, given the size of similar engines from other car makers. Now, we're talking about the 3 different ones, and you can see the concept car here. This is clearly just a rendering, but at the same time, Aston Martin is one of those car companies that if you see a rendering, the finished product is going to be scary close to what the concept actually is. So on top of that, Aston's new AMRB003 hypercar is also a gas guzzler, saying it has the same engine and it will incorporate concepts and technologies taken directly from F1, so Formula One, which will give top-end hypercars rivals a run for their money. Here's the part that I found really cool, and I would not be surprised to see in more and more cars at all levels of production, not just the $1 million hypercars or whatever the heck they're calling them, but for all cars. Check us out. Curiously though, the car will come without a dashboard touchscreen, presumably in a bid to lightweight it as much as possible. Instead, owners will have to mount their own smartphone to the dash if they want to use navigation or play music through Spotify. The company has been a little vague on the specs, but it's likely to be on the road by 2021. And you can see an image of that here. And I honestly like that because, and I wonder if there's any actual numbers. Let's see, percentage of Americans with smartphone. And I'm wondering just how, let's see, so about the vast majority of Americans, 95% now own a cell phone of some kind, and the shares of Americans that own smartphones is now 77%, up from 35%. And this was, Pew Research first, so 35% in 2011, 77% now. And even if you don't own a smartphone, a feature phone, like I think things like Track Phone, they have what amounts to a smartphone, with a touch screen, and it's obviously a bit bulkier and doesn't have as many features, but it does have a touch screen and it can connect to the internet or have a data plan. Those are available for like what, 40, 50, 60 bucks at drugstores and things like that. And of course, if you are buying an Aston Martin of all things, you're probably going to have a smartphone. And if you don't have a smartphone, you could probably afford to get one. I think assuming that people have phones that they could integrate into other systems, including a car, in lieu of a built-in dash, I am perfectly okay with that. And like I said, I hope to see that in other production cars at all levels, because so many people have their phones out already, and it's a matter of having it in their lap or having it in the center console, or really forbid having it in their hand when they're trying to drive and they're texting or doing something stupid like that. But if they could find a way to integrate it into the system itself and keep it away from people, or not even keep it away, but keep it in a place that is hands-free, you can still interact with it, but still focus on the road. I like that concept a lot better. And so this is really cool. Lastly, there's the Lagonda all-terrain concept. So the last car from Aston Martin, it's a transition into a luxury all-electric brand. A key takeaway here is the space on offer. The company has advantage of the lack of internal combustion engine and of course they mounted the batteries on the floor. So the vehicle is extra roomy on the inside. Where on the outside, it's pretty futuristic, suited for tech entrepreneurs. And there you go. The guys who drive Teslas, not Bentleys and Rolls Royce, that is what the Lagonda is all about. So there you have it. And really the part that I wanted to push to our audience today isn't that you should go out and buy an Aston Martin. It's that this idea that you have to mount your smartphone if you want to listen to music, or if you want to have some kind of navigation system in a car, because built-in touchscreens are pretty ubiquitous, and they don't really add that much to the price of a car. but by taking it away from people's hands, hey, or mounting your phone, I think it's a pretty good idea. So I definitely like that. Now, we are going to go ahead and transition from Aston Martin. And now this one is a bit different, and I'm betting it does have a touchscreen for this price point. And I know that a lot of you probably aren't car people, but at the same time, it's always fun to look at the top of the top. And by the way, this is all coming about because there's a car show happening. Let's see if I can find exactly where the car show is. This was the 2019 car show in, I can't even find it. Maybe we'll find it later in the article. But I digress. Check it out. This is none other than a 19 million with an M, $19 million Bugatti. I expect all of you to have two, a duplicate, just in case, backup. And everyone go out and buy one. They said that disregard, and this is coming from Vlad Savov, and he writes for The Verge, saying that disregard your bank imbalance for the moment and consider this proposition. Bugatti has designed a one-off, blacked-out car built upon the Chiron. Let's go with Chiron. Chiron drivetrain, and made out of carbon fiber and all the finest materials humanity has to offer. But it cost a whopping $18.9 million, and you can't have it for another 2.5 years. Although fortunately for you and for everyone out there, you can see it up there on the video portion. We can see what it looks like, and I think short of a stack of $19 million bills, I don't know what $19 million should look like, but I don't know if this is it. It's a very nice car. It's an incredible car. It's just, you don't even know what $19 million looks like, and I sure as heck don't. So there you go. Now, Bugatti saying that any car fanatic would calculate how many Ferraris, McLarens, and Lambos could be purchased for such a pricey sum, and how much driving can be done in 30 months, and decline as quickly and politely as possible. So they're saying that not a lot of people would go for this. But if you're a person more concerned with signaling their status or preserving their wealth, then, of course, a $19 million Bugatti proposal is a no-brainer. And I'm not into cars, but I have seen cars. And if you are looking to, quote unquote, invest money, then a Bugatti or any kind of car, I'll be honest, it's one of those things that, like, short of an Aibo, if you want guaranteed investment advice, then take it from here, take it from Computer America, and either buy an Aibo or a $19 million Bugatti. Now, they said that, and of course the author here talked to the Bugatti designer today while admiring the design of the model, and they said that the vehicle will be a one-off. There will only be one made, only one, and which is an homage to the Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic, which is designed by Jean Bugatti, who is the eldest son and founder of Ettore. Of course, founder of the company. And the 57 Atlantic had an iconic all-black variant, which went missing during the Second World War, and that's what today's La Voiture Noire, I'm sure I don't know French, commemorates. He tells them that once the design team finished their work, the extremely limited edition car was bought by the first person it was offered to. So, wow. I offered everyone to go out and buy two. Looks like you can't even buy one. Because why wouldn't you? Purchasing a one-off Bugatti at any price is like buying the futures in the stock of multi-billionaires of the future. If you believe that there will be more egregiously wealthy humans on the planet, then it only makes sense to own extraordinary exclusive items like this all-black Bugatti. Absolutely. And you can, of course, see the picture here. This thing is incredible. Like, really, it's... for being a one-off, you can see it. And of course, he's still reeling from the matter-of-fact manner in which those words were uttered, along with the inescapable logic they contain. $19 million Bugatti will have exact inverse value curve of a regular car. It'll start to appreciate rather than depreciate the moment it's delivered, and after 20 or so years, it's likely to be even more desired and exceptional art, status, and wealth piece. Yes, that's pretty much it. This is going to sit in someone's showroom, be immaculately kept in conditions that I think many of you would like to be kept in. If you could be kept in a millionaire or billionaire's basement and be dusted daily and have your oil changed daily, I think a lot of you would take that. This thing's just incredible. They said that the new hypercar debut is the most expensive new car ever built and sold. And what might surprise you, though, is that its escalated price is thanks entirely to its fancier design and scarcity. Bugatti didn't make any performance enhancements relative to the drivetrain, which is to say that the Bugatti Jibo is still the best performing vehicle that the brand has to offer. So normally this whole thing would cost about 5.7, but because there's only one in existence, and there will only ever be one in existence, and because it's all black as opposed to regular Bugatti, you are paying 4 times the price for that exclusivity. There you have it. I thank goodness someone took pictures of this thing, because I don't think I have enough money to even look at it in person. This thing is incredible. So there you have it. Okay, so from let's cool down a bit from a car standpoint. Those articles really, those articles were a lot of fun. Let's see. So with that being said, we have a couple more articles here that we're going to do, and I think our next one is going to be none other than about Singapore. I know you were thinking, well, Ben, what next? We're going to head on over to Singapore. And it's testing Volvo. You've heard of Volvo, right? Right. Volvo's full-sized driverless buses. And autonomous cars are one of those things that everyone knows that they're coming. Autonomous cars are coming. It's just a matter of, are they safe, and how quickly can they be implemented in the current infrastructure? Because there's not going to be dedicated, at least right away, there's not going to be dedicated self-driving car lanes. There's not going to be dedicated self-driving bus lanes. It's simply going to be bus lanes that have to interact with other buses. They have to deal with other very unpredictable people behind the wheel, and a computer is going to have to do everything that it possibly can to make this work. So here we are. This is what's happening in Singapore, where they will be trying to do this themselves. And we'll go ahead and put up the video, and at the same time, we'll go ahead and talk about this. Universities have proven solid training grounds for self-driving shuttles in Michigan and Melbourne. Now, a campus in Singapore is set to test a full-size autonomous bus for Volvo. The Swedish automaker's single-deck 7900 electric vehicle will carry up to 80 passengers at a time. And that's for the Nanyang Technical University. Meanwhile, a second Volvo self-driving bus will undergo a trial at a bus depot managed by the country's public transport operator. Chances are both will eventually join the fleet of driverless transit vehicles, including the smaller minivans and full-size buses, due to hit the 3 regions in Singapore in 2022. If you wanted a timeline, I know it seems like forever, but at the same time, we first heard about Google's self-driving car project back in like 2014, 2015, I want to say. So that's the cool part, is that we are closer to actually seeing these things in the wild than we are to, than we've been hearing about them. So we're getting there. We're getting close to these things actually, being able to be ridden. And they said that the Volvo 7900 electric bus passed 36 seats and releases 0 emissions, so it's all electric. Claims it consumes 80% less energy than an equivalent size diesel bus. The university has been at the heart of Singapore's autonomous transit experiments. Previously, even building a mini town for driverless bus trials. So there you go. Volvo is sending a bus to Singapore to be self-driving. Looking forward to it. I think buses are going to be the ultimate test of the self-driving technology, and it makes a lot of sense. They are much bigger. They can pack a lot more technology in them. They're going to have bigger batteries. They can have more cameras, sensors. You don't have to worry about size constraints and things like that because buses are freaking massive. And on top of that, it's they're very they just occupy so much space that you can pack them full of sensors. And of course, all the technology that goes into making a self-driving car as opposed to something that looks like, Google self-driving cars, which are big round cars that really consumers wouldn't go for. But at the same time, they're the ultimate test because of their size. They will kill you. And I mean that in the nicest way. It's just that if you get into an accident with the bus going at a certain speed, if you are a pedestrian, if you are a bicyclist, if you are on a motorcycle, if you're in another car and you are, hit by a small sedan, you have a much higher chance of surviving than if you're hit by a full-blown 80-passenger bus. So it's not just a test because, you can pack a full technology, but it's a test because if something's going to go wrong, if a self-driving vehicle is going to accidentally harm someone, it's going to be in a bus. So hoping that this goes well because I really want these things. I've seen you people drive. You are all just awful. And I think computers can do it better, but not at the moment. It still needs to be researched. So there you go. Okay, so from car to car to car, want to go ahead and move on to our next story, and let's talk about this one. Now, this was a robot that we saw announced out at CES. It was cute, you don't often put the word cute and technology together, but here you have it. It was a cute robot. And it was a social robot. I believe this came out of Japan, if memory serves, and it was meant to be a way for people to stay connected with loved ones or to even socialize simply with the robot itself. Japan, of course, has a big problem with an aging population and no one to take care of it. And of course, people are the elderly are being increasingly isolated, and the idea that robotics can help with this dilemma of how do you get people socialized, well, it's a very Japanese solution. But here we go. This is unfortunately not the answer. And this is from Motherboard and Mr. Matthew Galt saying that after being sold to a venture capital firm, venture capital is one of the dirtiest parts of tech, but hey, it's kind of mandatory at this point. But here we go. After being sold to a venture capital firm, this $900 Internet of Things robot will soon brick itself. And this is something that a lot of services and products are running into. It's not like buying a computer from yesteryear. It's you're buying a service. You're not just, for $900, you're not just buying the hardware. You are buying the service and the internet, hey, you're buying the services that are behind the product for $900. You're not just buying the hardware for $900. Now, the social robot Jibo announced to people who owned one that will soon be dying. That's right. Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant will give you the time of day and the weather, but Jibo, Jibo, if you want to Google it, will do it with a glowing blue light that approximated a smile. Until now, Jibo is dying. The servers running Jibo are shutting down, and soon its functions will be limited. Jibo is explaining this to users in a heartbreaking way with a song and a dance, of course. And I think we even have a video of that. Let's see what we got going on here. Let's go ahead and do that. So yeah, you can yeah, you can see the little video that is included in the article there. They said that it's not great news. Jibo said in a video posted by Jibo's owner's Facebook group, the servers out there that let me do what I do are going to be turned off soon. I want to say I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you very much for having me around. Maybe someday when robots are way more advanced than today and everyone has them in their homes, you can tell yours that I said hello. I wonder if it'll be able to do this. Then, of course, Jibo breaks into a song and a dance. Aw, that's kind of heartbreaking. So they said that users on a Jibo owner's Facebook group are sharing videos of the death dance, and that's a good way to put it, with memories of their time with the robot. It's like a public wake for the social robot, and yeah, there you go. It's let's see. So let's go ahead and wrap up this article. Jibo sold its intellectual property assets to an investment firm in November 2018, and the first concrete signs of its dancing days were over. The recent update is the final nail in the coffin, and it will be cut off from its servers and unable to do anything but dance and say hello. And so, this isn't just a sad robot story. Yet another expensive Internet of Things device will become essentially useless because its manufacturer ran out of money or sold out to another company. Jibo's dead, but perhaps we can all learn something from this. And this is something that we've brought up on other shows, such as, let's say, our Linux show. When projects or services or products go out of style like this, you really wish that companies, even though they sold to a venture capital firm, so this will never happen, because obviously, hey, someone does own the rights to this. But if these firms and if these people aren't going to continue maintaining, updating, making changes to this, don't you wish, because you own this thing, for $900, they would release the source code and let other people start other services that would then take advantage of this, instead of just completely wiping it and say, congratulations, your $900 glorified webcam, because that's essentially what this thing was. It was a glorified, kind of social, it was like a glorified digital assistant with a webcam built in and things like that. Don't you wish someone else could take that over and, maybe run it themselves or, start up a competing service to take over? But no, that's something that will never happen and unfortunately won't happen. So like the author said, I hope that we do learn something from this, and maybe that thing that we learn is that, hey, maybe every product that goes away needs a song and a dance to go with it. Maybe. I don't know. So there you have it. All right. I think we have time to introduce another story, and then, of course, we're going to head off into break. We don't have a lot of time. So our next story that we're going to do has to do with Coinbase. If you don't know what Coinbase is or cryptocurrency or things like that, we'll take it nice and slow. But there's been some controversy over what has been happening over at Coinbase. And they said that Coinbase says ex-hacking team members will transition out after users protest. That's right. Coinbase acquired Neutrino in February, sparking a #delete Coinbase campaign in protest. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. It's a pretty quick article from Motherboard, and actually we're going to go ahead and start that and then come back and finish it on the other side of the break. Everyone, thank you for tuning into Computer America, and thank you for checking us out on the radio, and want to go ahead and get started. So here we go. 3 former members of a controversial Italian hacking and surveillance tool vendor will transition out of cryptocurrency firm Coinbase. Will transition out of cryptocurrency Coinbase, and that was an announcement that by the CEO of the company, saying that Coinbase, which operates popular cryptocurrency exchanges for laypeople and professionals, and a cryptocurrency exchange. Cryptocurrency and exchange would be if you wanted to sell, let's say, your Bitcoin or something, or you wanted to sell it for US dollars, or if you wanted to sell it for another cryptocurrency. It's a place to exchange, because you can't do that on a one-to-one basis. You need these marketplaces. Think of it as like a giant teller. Now, Neutrino's leadership, its CEO, Chief Research Officer, and Chief Technology Officer, are all former members of a hacking team, a controversial firm that sold spy tools to governments with abysmal human rights records before getting hacked itself. Yeah, there's another side of technology that, and obviously the people behind, who maybe embrace cryptocurrency, and the people especially who are very invested in the idea that currency should be decentralized, that no one government should have complete autonomous control over finances of its citizens. Maybe a group of individuals like that would really take exception to to the idea that you bring people on board who help governments spy on people. So there you have it. The music in the background means that we're going to head off into break. Everyone, stay tuned. More Computer America right after this. We're going to finish this article and so much more. Everyone, we'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And everyone, welcome back into the Computer America Show. Thank you so much for continuing on with us. And hey, I hope that you are doing well. So, if you are just tuning in, welcome into the program. We have been doing computer and technology news. It's always a great segment. And everyone, let's go ahead and finish up the story. So, oh, and by the way, if you missed any part of today's show or any other show, check out the podcast version of the program. And it's simply today's show rebroadcast as a podcast wherever podcasts are heard. Now, and by the way, just search Computer America and we should, come right up. Now, we were just getting into this article, and it's about Coinbase and how the team had brought on members of a hacking team, of a team who sold software and, kind of tools to help governments break into, monitor, track, do essentially what they said, human rights violations on behalf of governments to spy on journalists. So, and they have a quote here of why these people are being let go, saying that, quote, "While we look hard at the technology and security of the Neutrino project, we did not properly evaluate everything from the perspective of our mission and values as a crypto company. We took some time to dig further into this over the past week, and together with the Neutrino team have come to an agreement. Those who previously worked at Hacking Team, despite the fact that they have no current affiliation with Hacking Team, will transition out of Coinbase." There you go. quick and decisive action by, by the company. Now, if it's unclear if transition out really means fired or what that means for Neutrino, they said that at the time of writing, the three who are, of course, the center of the controversy are still listed as executives on the company's website. The whole episode demonstrates a few things. First, it shows Coinbase is responsive to the community and that selling hacking tools is something that will come back to haunt those who do so. This is, a fairly common story when it comes to white hat hackers, black hat hackers, people who do these things, kind of illegally or, without really a care for, technology has an ethics problem. And I know that the term ethicist doesn't come up often, but it's something that science had to deal with for a number of decades, before ethics were really something to be concerned about. Science went a long way. If you could test, if you could take two twins and separate them at age 3 when they first start talking, put one into an isolated room and put the other into a very supportive and loving environment, and you studied the difference between, one that was deprived of all human contact as opposed to the other which had constant human contact, you learn about the development of different, you learn about the impacts of development through environment. But from an ethical standpoint, you would never get away with that. You would never get away with locking a child in a basement and seeing what happens. Ethics in science has come a long way. I think ethics in technology has to make similar leaps. You run into situations where ethics in, where ethics in technology, and like right off the top of my head, you're looking at things like Amazon's facial recognition system and how the government was trying to contract with them. You're looking at the drone program by Google and the U.S. military. You're looking at Google and the search engine that that they were going to release in China to help censor the internet there. I mean, there's a lot of ethical dilemmas, and we're still trying to parse them out. And this time, Coinbase came down on the side of, hey, our user base decided that these were not the ethics that we decided to have, and we're gonna have a lot more of those conversations. So, and of course the chat room and everyone else. Happy Fat Tuesday, everyone. Happy Mardi Gras. Hopefully you are having a great day out there. Now, want to go ahead and switch on up lots of other stories. Let's talk about, hey, we mentioned Google. Let's talk about Google. They had a recent study come out where they reviewed the pay equity or equality, whatever. Google reviewed pay equity and learned it was underpaying. Here we go. Ready? Whoa, wait. Do we have a drum roll? I think we have a drum roll. We have a drum roll. All right. So Google reviewed pay equity and learned it was underpaying. Very nice. Men. Hey, how often does that happen? And it's not a good thing to celebrate. I joke about it. No one should be underpaid for their valuable skills. And just because the pendulum was one way where, of course, women were being underpaid for so long, and then now the pendulum has swung the other way in this one particular study in one particular company that is not indicative of the entire workforce. Don't think I mean that in any way, but it's just, it's interesting to see that it's even if women start to get paid, the correct wages, and everyone feels like they're, everyone feels valued at their current pay scale. It's going to be a continuous process. You have to evaluate always to make sure everyone is being, compensated correctly, because it could swing the other way. This could happen more and more. And hey, it happened this one time. So this was an article that was released late yesterday, and this is by Hamza Shaban from the Washington Post. And yeah, when Google reviewed its own pay structure recently, it yielded an unexpected result, saying that it was underpaying more men than women for doing similar work. And that was in a blog post published yesterday. Now, the annual analysis comes as Google faces a class action lawsuit that alleges it denied career opportunities to women and systematically paid them less than men performing similar work. The tech industry as a whole is also grappling with enduring criticism about a lack of diversity and dysfunctional work environments. And we've seen that, we've heard that. Obviously, tech, when it comes to kind of tech jobs, and trust me, we've had many companies on the show, everyone from, let's say, an IBM to an Intel to an AMD to, so many companies out there that are trying to promote diversity, that are trying to promote more women in tech, that are trying to promote, just anything other than a white, than the white male dominated culture. Or even, to a lesser extent, the, an Asian male-dominated tech center. It's not making as much of an impact, or at least it's not changing. In fact, I even saw the other day that over the past 10 years, diversity has actually lessened in tech. So it's, it's something that we still need to work on. Now, of course, you can overcompensate. Google said it analyzed pay across most of its job groups to ensure it compensates employees fairly based on their work. If the company finds statistically significant discrepancies within an employment category, it says it raises pay within the group to eliminate gaps. There you go. The review considers such factors as the market rates for a position, an employee's location, and his or her performance rating. But managers also have the prerogative to boost pay using dedicated funds for the adjustments. So that means that so this isn't just about Google. It's about if you are, let's say you are a network engineer for Google. If you are a system analyst, if you're the hardware guy, whatever your employment position is, this isn't just about Google. It's about Google, and let's say over the past 5 years, system analyst has, seen a 12% increase. And if Google feels that, if Google shows that you are being underpaid for your position by other companies, then they will raise your rate. Obviously, they'll compensate you fairly. It's a very analytical way to look at it. It's not about, tenure or experience or things like that. It's about how good you do your job and how much are other people in your field getting paid. Very analytical way to look at it. But turns out, hey, in 2018 study, Google found that managers had dipped into the discretionary funds more often for women engineers, creating a pay gap for men in the same job category. This job class of lower-level software engineers is one of the larger groups at Google, the company said. So it's not even so much about the base pay. It seems like everyone was being compensated, pretty fairly across the board. It was only when this discretionary fund, when, someone does their job very, very well or, needs those extra kudos were handed out at such a rate that led to the pay discrepancy. So that's something to be said. And a question from the chat room. So is Google giving back pay to make up for the disparity in pay? From what I can tell, and I'm sure it will come up later in the article, from what I can tell, Google, of course, Google says that they adjust the ongoing rate. So I don't think back pay is going to come into effect, but everyone should receive a commensurate raise going forward. And of course, hindsight 2020, you could probably estimate what kind of back pay that that these people should have been given. But at the same time, that means that going forward, let's see, in total, Google made $9.7 million in pay adjustments to 10,677 employees. So 10,000 employees got a raise to the tune of about $9.7 million, which math, let's see, 10 million by 10,000. Is that 1,000? Or is that, let's see, so that's about 10,000, almost 11,000 people got about a $900 raise. And hey, $900. I think anyone would be happy with that. Yep, there you go. So Google workforce is 69% male, according to its 2018 diversity report. And Alphabet, of course, is running with about 100,000 employees. So about 10% of their workforce received a raise. And although Alphabet did not disclose how many people work at Google, the vast majority of Alphabet staff works for the search giant. Google acknowledged that its annual study does not offer a complete picture of how women and underrepresented minorities are compensated within the company. Our pay equity analysis ensures that compensation is fair for employees in the same job, at the same level, location, and performance. But we know that that's only part of the story. Google is also considering raises from promotions and how it assigns new employees' level of seniority within a position. And yeah, there you have it. So no back pay, no mention of back pay, but everyone did receive a raise. That's something that's pretty pretty spectacular. And like I said, $900 over the course of a year. It's not that's not life-changing money, obviously, but hey, in a field where you can at least say, here's what my skills should be earning me, and at least Google acknowledges that, hey, you're right, you are worth more than what we're paying you. And you don't have to fight, Google just knows, because, hey, Google is Google. They have data. Check that out. So there you have that. That's, pretty good. Hey, congrats everyone on the raises. I'm sure that I directly contributed to that. Let's go ahead and move over to, let's move over to this one. So speaking of times, they are changing. This one from CNBC and Steven Spielberg. This loosely relates to technology, so we're going to go ahead and say it. And as much as you like Steven Spielberg, who has an incredible career, he has an amazing slew of movies. As a director, there are few people who are as iconic as Steven Spielberg. But if any statement has ever exemplified the changing of the guard, this kind of sentiment could be it. He peaked at ET. I'm not going to say anything about his recent movies or his old movies. I think he's done a lot of great stuff. But the statement did tick off a lot of people, saying that Steven Spielberg is trying to change the rules so that Netflix can't win an Oscar. That's right. Netflix, Oscar. You know Netflix, that thing that is disrupting entire markets, including the movie industry, the television industry, the streaming industry, heck, even the pirating industry. Netflix has done so much to advance movies and get smaller known movies into people's hands in front of eyeballs, and now it looks like Steven Spielberg, who is a contributor to the Oscar, the Oscar Association, or at least the organization behind the Oscars. I think he's a voice. I don't think he's the end-all be-all, but he's a powerful voice. Now, and this is again CNBC, Chris Taylor, Netflix is responded to criticism over its inclusion in the Oscars by saying its streaming platform has made movies more accessible, which is true. The Academy's original production of Roma was nominated for 10 Academy Awards this year and won 3 of them. And by the way, that's hugely important. It's widely tipped to win the Best Picture award, but lost out to Green Book. Netflix inclusion in the awards has come under fire with claims that the company does not take steps to meet studio standards. And here's the thing, one of the standards is box office earnings. Now, you may know Netflix doesn't really do box office. If they are trying to meet these old, archaic studio standards, people pay $15 a month and it's a la carte. You get whatever you get whatever you want. If you want to watch Friends on repeat for for 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, then that is your prerogative. And you just paid $15 a month to watch continuous Friends. Or if you want to check out all the different movies and all the different television shows, it's the same price. There's no way to, or at least there's no way that Netflix accurately reports how many people are watching what and when. That's kind of the secret formula that Netflix keeps to itself. Now, with that being said, they said that Oscar-winning filmmaker Steven Spielberg, who is also a member of the organization who gives out the award. So, like I said, he's a member. He's not the controlling party, but he's a very big voice within the organization. He says that according to IndieWire, he's attempting to convince the rest of the Academy to shut the streaming giants movies out of the Oscars when it meets next month. So in a couple of weeks, we should see this, whether or not he had the impact. But in an indirect response to critics, Netflix tweeted on Sunday that it loves cinema and provides filmmakers with more ways to share their art, saying that here are some things we also love: access for people who can't afford or live in towns without theaters, and letting everyone enjoy releases at the same time. That's right, because, let's take a regular movie, and admittedly, digital releases are getting better, where you can get a digital release just a couple of weeks after it's out of the theater, but at the same time, you have to wait those couple of weeks. Netflix, though, it's... you can't doubt the impact that putting something on Netflix probably has as big of an impact as something being released in theaters. And a lot of people watch it. It's very impactful, and I don't know. A spokesperson for Spielberg's production company told IndieWire, said that Stevens feels strongly about the difference between streaming and theatrical situation. He'll be happy if the others will join his campaign when that comes up at the Academy Board of Governors meeting. Spielberg has also previously suggested that Netflix movies should instead be recognized by the Emmy Awards, arguing that the company produces TV movies. Really, it seems more like someone who is at the top of their game, or I should say at the top of the pile, someone who has gotten theirs and has been recognized for their achievements, is looking down and trying to say, no, that's not the way I did it, therefore that's not the way it should be done. And it's, just like Fort in the chat room said, welcome to the 21st century, Steve. Streaming is the future. Movies will always have a place, but at the same time, that's not how a lot of people consume media. I know, and this is just personal anecdotal evidence. It's not meant to be taken as, this is the way things are. But how many times have you gone to friends, family, coworkers and said, oh, have you seen XYZ? And they've said, no, I'll wait for it to come out on Netflix, or no, I'll wait for it to come out on streaming. Movies just aren't that attractive. And if you, and really, I think even a step beyond that, the award ceremonies where it's millionaires and billionaires and executives and movie stars all crowding around, patting each other's backs and going, wow, aren't we great? Because the award ceremonies themselves, from the Oscars to the Emmys to the, to all these other, and the Grammys, they've come under fire recently for being very out of touch with the average consumer, because it's all about them, themselves, and them giving each other awards. And to come out and say that, hey, the way that the majority of people consume content is not a valid way to judge, or to even say that that's good content, is very backwards thinking. So if you ever wanted to make yourself less relevant, as and I'm speaking directly to, the Oscars. If you're in a situation where you are becoming less relevant, maybe cutting out your new demographic isn't the best way to retain relevancy. So there you go. There you go. And I think we're going to stop there. At least stop that story there. Everyone, once again, we'll have a link to all these in the show notes if you'd like to check them out yourself. But in these last couple of minutes, we have a couple more. All right, this one should be pretty quick. Don't want to get too far into the weeds with this, but take it with a grain of salt. However far you can throw your government or overthrow your government. Ars Technica, Sean Gallagher, saying that House Aide, the National Security Agency, has shut down phone call recording surveillance. And that is according to House Aide says that the program was halted 6 months ago and renewal is unlikely, saying that the most controversial National Security Agency surveillance program, originally exposed by documents by Edward Snowden, you may remember all those, has apparently ended quietly. And this is huge news because this was an extension of the U.S. Patriot Act. It was a way for the government to surveil its citizens, to make sure that, of course, for national security purposes and anti-terrorism measures and things like that. But it became so pervasive and the abilities of technology became such that entire data centers were built in the middle of nowhere that no one knew anything about. And not just phone metadata, not just every phone call you made, when you made it, who you made it to, where'd you make it from, that kind of thing. But on top of that, they were recording entire conversations of the entire U.S. population. We're talking petabytes of information that had to be stored. And of course, security and personal freedom and liberty and blah, 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 all that stuff aside, that's a very expensive measure to have the people, to have people constantly maintaining and parsing through that information. Even if you have artificial intelligence and things like that, you have to turn all of that noise and all of that surveilled data into something useful and parse through it for keywords, for key, people of interest, for people that you need to actually surveil, and you're just catching everything. It probably wasn't the best way. And on top of that, like we said, hey, it violated quite a few constitutional liberties. But hey, Patriot Act, it's a very handy tool. But like I said, due to, and this is for a FISA warrant, a Freedom of Information Act, saying that, however, the new program had some technical problems. June 2018, the NSA announced that the agency was deleting all call detail records it had acquired from telecommunication providers since 2015, and because analysts discovered technical irregularities in the data being provided by the telecommunication company. That line sounds like the data that they had wasn't useful, so they deleted it. Those irregularities also resulted in the production of to NSA of some call data records that the NSA was not authorized to receive. At the time, let's go ahead and end this with this last sentence here. Authorization of the call data record collection program expires in December, and they said that Congress is unlikely to reauthorize the program. This was one of those things that every single American was subject to. Every phone call was logged, monitored, tracked, so on and so forth. If you were suspected or unsuspected or not suspected, you were being monitored by your government. And I think it just comes to the point where, hey, this isn't something that works. It just doesn't work. And, this is not a political statement. This was started back years and years and years ago underneath, the Bush administration, continued by the Obama administration, continued through the Trump administration, all the way through. This is not, either side of a political issue. This is from a technology point of view that we had the capability. We just couldn't do anything with it. There was nothing really useful that came from this. And on top of that, it was such a bad idea that this happened that, I'm happy to see it go away, that it's been stopped for 6 months and it's going to not be renewed. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt. And, maybe if we have like an Edward Snowden 2 kind of debacle, we may find out that, the NSA just stopped doing it and another different part of the government picked up the surveillance of phone records. But, or maybe yeah, and hey, this is me putting on my tinfoil hat. Maybe the U.S. government has somehow convinced the few phone carriers that are left in America that it is their job to surveil on behalf of the U.S. government. And now it's up to Comcast, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, or I should say Verizon, to monitor everyone. There you go. And yeah, exactly. They shut it down, or they said they shut it down. And at this point, we can only take them at their face value. We can say that they shut it down. So everyone, you are free to talk about whatever. No, please do not talk about whatever on phones. In fact, don't do bad. Everyone, take a page from Google's old saying. Don't be evil. Everyone, don't be evil. So thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. It's been a lot of fun. This was a great, computer technology news. And tomorrow on the program, we are going to have none other than Mike Cermak, who is the owner-operator of TechGuy.org. Always a fun segment. Definitely want to check that out. And then on Thursday, we should be having yesterday's guest on the program. So Thursday, another guest. Friday, we have yet another guest who is currently slipping my mind. But everyone, it's going to be a full week of shows. It's going to be great. Oh, actually, I take it back. Thursday should be Black and Decker. So, hey, everyone, catch you then. Until next time, have a great one. Bye-bye.